Yeah, no. Well, Monday probably won't work. I'll be in the mountains somewhere.
Oh, right. No
Call
connection.
us while you're on the mountains. Just hiking up a mountain. Just be like, yeah, guys. Like, oh gosh, guys, I almost fell. Anyways, so that
Coming to you
movie was.
live from this bear den.
I'm gonna sit with the bears while I talk about this movie real quick.
Yeah. Welcome to the Magic of Animation, where we explore the enchanting world of Disney, from the classics we grew up with to the latest releases. We'll take a deep dive into the artistry, storytelling, the unforgettable characters, and the pure magic that makes these movies timeless. So whether you're a lifelong Disney fan or new to the magic, sit back, relax, and join us as we embark on our journey through the wonderful, magical world of animation. Hi-ho everyone, my name is Joey. Thank you for joining us today, and I am joined by the whimsical Dequan,
Hello, hello.
the luminary Kevin,
Hey there.
and the trailblazing Mike.
What's up?
In today's episode, we will be discussing Pinocchio. And before we get started, I will like to make a note that I was calling Don Bluth David Bluth in the last episode, and I am super embarrassed about that.
It's okay. I don't even remember who that was.
Alright, so we'll jump right into Pooh's 100-Acre Check-In. How did everyone's week go?
My week was actually pretty cool. Went to Comic-Con, enjoyed myself there, and that's pretty much about it. Really, what I did throughout this week. It was nice and chill.
Sweet.
Yeah, I was just busy, still changing rooms around the house, getting ready for summertime.
Oh yeah, it's right around the corner.
I hung out with my nephew, had fun watching him, and then watched a really good show that had the worst ending out of everything that ruined the entire show. That was 6 hours of my life gone.
Nice.
Now I'm curious what show that was. You can't just say a show.
Yeah, you gotta call that out.
What show was that?
And should I say it here, or
Sure.
do you want me to?
What
Okay,
do we
it
have,
was a
20
show called-
listeners right now?
It was Muted. It was called Muted. It was
Oh, okay, I don't know
good.
about
5
this.
episodes, good. 6 episode. First 40 minutes of it, good. Last 20 minutes, what the actual heck happened on the writing team? I was so irritated. I'm like, that's my life. That's 6 hours of my life basically gone.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Makes everything that happens pointless.
Like How I Met Your Mother. The whole 10 seasons is ruined in the last 30 minutes of the last episode.
Oh, it's horrible. It's horrible. It's so rough.
Yeah. So my week was very eventful. Friday I had a patio poured. Saturday I went to Comic-Con the same day that Dequan was there, and neither one of us knew each other was there. That really sucked. That would have been cool. I met one of my all-time favorite actors in the world, Stephen Amell. He signed 2 of my Funko Pops, and we talked wrestling for like 5 minutes. He was so excited about it, and he's just the coolest dude. And then yesterday, destroyed my back putting rocks in the backyard for 5 hours.
Oh no.
I need more comfort in that, Chief.
Yeah. I'm not as young as I used to be.
Amen.
No, we're all young and beautiful.
I agree with that.
Age is just a number, except on my back.
Not the back.
Well, it depends on how many rocks you picked up, right? Like, you pick up 1 rock, you'd be good. You pick up 2 rocks, you'd be good.
Your knees.
Yeah. So we'll jump right into Zazu's report, and we are covering Pinocchio today, which was released by Disney Animation Studios on February 7th, 1940. The movie was based on the book The Adventures of Pinocchio by Carlo Collodi. It is directed by Hamilton Luske and Ben Sharpstein, produced by Mr. Walt Disney himself. The story was done by Ted Sears, music by Leigh Harlan and Paul Smith. And the budget was $2.6 million, and the initial release made $39 million, and the lifetime box office made $84.3 million.
Nice.
I have some other notes here, but I'll talk about that in one of our segments later, so I'll come back to that. Does anyone have any report notes they want to...
Nope, I took all my notes on pawn watching.
Okay.
Nope, nothing on the actual factual report.
Cool. So we'll go to Dory's dive into memories. DeQuandrick, what are your memories of Pinocchio?
The thing that I remember the most about Pinocchio when I was younger was the obvious, example of you shouldn't lie, followed by the fact that his nose will always grow. And I always thought that was like a funny but cool little like gimmick when I was younger, because as messed up as it may sound, when I was a kid, I wanted to see him lie more because I wanted to see a tree grow. Because they show things grow on his nose, but I'm like, I want to see a tree now. Like when they get to that point. Obviously, it never got to that point, but it was that stuck out the most, followed by the fact of the scene of the donkey transformation. Those two things stuck out the most.
Mr. Kevin?
The only big memory from childhood is the "When You Wish Upon a Star" song.
Mm-hmm.
That obviously it's a huge part of Disney in general, everywhere now. That was my biggest takeaway from my childhood.
Oh man, my baby is angry in the other room.
Poor baby.
Mike, how about you?
I'm gonna throw shade. I'm gonna say I remember Jiminy Cricket not being so dang useless and such a quitter.
Whoa.
I was watching this. I was like, wait, what? Wait, you're not. What? I was so thrown off guard at this man just being like, I'm willing to like give up on this kid on like 3 different occasions and be late the first day. I'm like,
yeah,
I do not remember him being like this. Then gets rewarded at the end. I'm like, oh.
That's a fair point, but he did chase him down a lot. I mean, he's just a cricket. He can't travel long distances.
Right.
He's a cricket.
Whoa, babe, why did she choose the cricket to be a conscience?
Well, because he was there.
Why did she
Cleo?
could have just made him one. Why did she like half do her job? I'm gonna make him alive. Only partially though. Only partially. And this cricket will be your conscience that has to follow you. He has to be with you or else you don't got a conscience. See ya.
As for my memories, it's the exact same as last week. I have none. I must have stopped watching this before anything. I mean, obviously I know of the nose growing and stuff, but I don't remember watching this movie as a kid. So it's the exact same as last week. So we're going to jump into our egos column, our new and improved re-rating system. And the way we're going to do this, instead of scene by scene, we're going to go through our rating segments and talk about what we liked the most and disliked the most in each column, I guess. So, category 1 is story/plot. The storyline is Geppetto wishing for a real boy and his puppet coming to life. Pinocchio then has to learn to be a good kid and avoid temptation, and he fails multiple times. That gets him in trouble many times, but at the end, he does the right thing, ends up saving his father, and becomes a real boy. So,
nice TLDR.
Right. So the first note that I have for this is that I like the way that they had Jiminy Cricket narrate the movie at the start of it, and with him opening the fairy tale book to lead us into the story.
Yeah, that was a good cornerstone for how important. I mean, at the time, obviously, they didn't know about how important of a role in Disney that Jiminy is going to have, come the future.
Right.
Right. The cool thing. Oh, go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, you go first.
Okay, I was gonna say the cool thing about that too, of him narrating, opening the book, like if after you watch the movie, you realize that the events of it. I mean, it might be obvious to some people, but when you're watching it, the events of the book already happened. It's more of him telling the story to like the viewers and whatnot.
Right.
Because you can tell by the way that he's dressed now. He's dressed the same way that he was before.
Hmm.
Only one detail is missing. He didn't have his badge.
Hmm.
Can't carry the big badge around all the time.
Yeah,
Sometimes
no, that's
gets in the
18
way,
karat
you know?
solid gold, man.
You gotta keep that safe.
Those are some dangerous streets. Got foxes and cats all around.
Right.
But
oh yeah, you go.
sorry, it's just gonna be real quick. So I don't remember if I said this in the last podcast, but I don't know if they were purposely doing this before as foreshadowing. Because in the last one with Snow White, Doc mentioned 3 different times the name Jiminy Cricket, and I was like,
Well,
okay, that
so-
seems like a cool little almost foreshadowing for the next movie, possibly.
So
Didn't realize it was the exact next one. Go on.
I just learned this today actually, is that they didn't know what to name him, and they knew his last name was going to be Cricket, and they were throwing names around, and then Walt Disney was like, well, the phrase Jiminy Cricket is a very popular phrase, so why not just name him Jiminy? So the phrase Jiminy Cricket was a very popular phrase back then.
Well, then I don't know where it goes from there, because in this one I noticed, so when you're talking about the first scene when they're opening the book, you know, to tell the story, in the background I straight away noticed, wait, that's a book of Alice in Wonderland, and then the other book says Peter Pan on it.
I
was
mean,
like,
they've been
are these foreshadowing?
I didn't even know
they have been foreshadowing their movies for a very long time. Like since I think at least Tangled, they've been putting the next movie in somewhere in the movie.
I've always known them to have like Easter eggs of other movies that are already out, but I didn't know of like, you know, them foreshadowing to next movies or movies they have planned.
And Pixar does
They
it.
always
that. I
put
was
a
like,
little
that's cool.
something for the next
Yeah,
movie.
Pixar
to
does
be
it.
released.
Pixar does it for every movie. Every movie there's an Easter egg for the next movie coming out. So my biggest problem with the plot of this movie, I would say, is that Geppetto making Pinocchio that he needs to go to school the next day. Well, he was just brought to
Straight
life.
away, go to school. Don't worry, kids will not freak out that you're a living puppet. It's all good. Just go.
Okay.
See, at the same time, I thought about this and I was like, you know what? But you know, he hasn't been a parent before, so he's got his priorities straight. He's like, hey man, first thing, you're going to school. Like that is a priority for me as your parent. That's important for you to have the knowledge for you to learn. So I kind of seen it from both sides.
The other thing I noticed too, like I had the same exact thought as you, Mike. The same exact thought, like no one's gonna find a wooden boy walking around. And then I saw the freaking fox and the cat. I'm like, never mind, it's fine.
Right.
Yeah, honest John. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a 6-foot tall fox walking around and no one cares.
It makes me question, like, so after seeing, you know, we have a living puppet, no one questions. You have normal people, okay, cool. Talking cricket, no one questions. Talking fox, talking cat, okay, no one questions. What is the sentience that works in this world? Because you have a cat who doesn't talk and is just a normal house cat, but then you have a cat who's walking, wearing clothes, and talking. Where does the sentience draw the line here?
Well,
We have
Gideon
talking
doesn't
crickets.
talk.
Disney, it's Disney. then we get into the Pluto and Goofy debate. All right,
Yeah,
but
that's
we're not
true.
gonna go there.
Still question
We're not gonna go
that.
there.
I still question it. I look at it like that is
questions
dark.
that. It's not just you.
I'm not saying it's just me. I'm just saying I still question it.
Oh
I was
And chalk it up to Disney magic.
yeah.
You know, that's fair.
selective.
One thing that the Quandrick you mentioned in your memories is that his nose growing. So the number one thing that anyone thinks of when you think of Pinocchio is his nose growing. But if you watch the movie, you realize it is only grow one time. One scene does his nose grow.
All right.
That's nuts.
I mean, that's just how impactful that scene is, though. Like, I mean, he quite literally continued to stack lies on top of himself. Like, he was amazed by the nose growing. Like, bro, stop talking.
But then he learns not to lie and he never does it again. I think that's the
True.
real lesson there.
All
He
right.
learned it right away. Smart kid.
Something I do want to touch on as well is where this might be jumping ahead just a tad bit, like with the plot. You know, when they were a monstro.
Mm-hmm.
Geppetto asks Pinocchio what happened. And it does show that Pinocchio did learn from lying,
Right.
but it never showed him quite literally tell the truth. He just didn't say anything, and Geppetto didn't give him a chance. And I'm like, I wanted to see if he actually grew from a past experience.
That's a good point. So speaking of the whale, I love the sequence that there's so much going on. There's Monstro is chasing tuna trying to eat them, and then Pinocchio's in the water and he's trying to get out of the way, and then Geppetto's inside having his own action sequence trying to catch these tuna like he's on Deadliest Catch, and then he's hucking them at Figaro, and Figaro slapping him out of the air into the bucket. That's just incredible.
Yep, into the live well, yep.
That was indeed my favorite scene, because Geppetto, when he was like you said, he was hooking him. That man was serious. You heard it in his voice. The voice actor did an amazing job. He was starving for real in real life.
He's like, we got food for weeks.
And then I guess we jump right to the end here. I have a question. Pinocchio just spent days, hours, weeks, however long it was, walking at the bottom of the ocean, and then he drowned at the end. How does that work?
Oh, I'm glad you brought that up, because I didn't even catch that. But something I did catch is when it first went down there, I'm like, okay, it makes sense. Pinocchio can't drown. He's a wooden. He's not, he's not real yet. He's just alive.
Right.
But Jiminy, on the other hand, he shouldn't be able to breathe underwater that long. I even did my Google search in the middle of the movie. How long can crickets survive underwater? I can't make this up. The caption quite literally said, crickets are excellent at drowning. How the heck did Jiminy survive?
You want to know how? I learned about this word today. It's called Disney magic.
Oh, yes.
You know?
A wise man must have told you that.
Explains everything.
No, I think it was a relevance, though, because, I want to say it's because it was the first step to becoming a real boy, right? Was that he tried his hardest to save his dad.
And he sacrificed himself.
Yeah, it's like that first step of being a boy, so it gave him more of like the internal, in the internal part of being human, being a real boy, and a real boy can't, breathe underwater, so he wound up drowning.
I like it.
I'm like, again, the dark scene. I'm like, bro, they literally just showed like a dead child face first in water.
It's fantastic.
What the heck?
That and the exertion from pulling Geppetto out of the water, and swimming with everything he had for so long, to get away from Monstro. Like, it just, all of that.
Mike, you thought Snow White was dark. This movie is way darker, and apparently it was way, way darker until they made cuts to make it less scary and dark.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, Monstro actually seemed like a real monster. I was like, I actually like that scene, because I'm like, this is, I don't know, a lot of scenes that try to portray like a monster chasing you don't always hit it too well, with it being like, life-threatening. But I felt like this one actually kind of did. Like, I don't know if it was this way for you guys with the audio. My audio was like, they're talking, but all I could hear was this dude roaring over everything.
Yeah,
and
it was
like,
very menacing.
Actually, I don't know, it gives like a good, like, when you like let yourself get into it, it kind of like takes over.
So that is a good jumping point over to characters, unless you guys have more to talk about the plot.
No, I just want to know why Monstro knew how to drift like that. That was impressive.
Yo, the Tokyo Drift!
So with the characters, unlike Snow White, I actually like all but two characters in this movie. And it's, I don't even remember. One of them is the coachman. I don't remember the other one. So I guess I like all characters except for one. I'll probably think of it.
I think I'm in the same boat as you, Joey. I didn't like all the characters in this movie. Yeah. And the only two characters I hate was, I don't remember their names exactly, but I believe it's the coachman, the one who led them to like the bad boy area, right?
Yep.
And then I hated, obviously, the puppet guy,
the Stromboli.
Because it was the scumminess that followed behind his personality. Like, I can get
maybe
it
was Stromboli that I didn't like.
Yeah, like, you got greed for money, I get it, that's fine. But, like, to quite literally kidnap someone them was overboard.
Oh, yeah. So Jiminy Cricket was wonderfully animated, a truly dapper gentleman.
And
And
he didn't even like start out as such, you know.
no,
I mean, Jiminy pre, Blue Fairy, just Jiminy in this is definitely my favorite character because of the growth.
yeah. And I thought you were going a different route when you said he didn't start out like that, so I'll go that route. The animator was drawing him like a cricket, but Walt kept telling him, no, make him better. And then he would draw him again, and he was like, no, make him better. And he'd draw him again, and again, and again, and again, until he just looked like a green man.
That's pretty cool.
Figaro's absolutely adorable. I love Figaro.
I do want to say this as well. I don't know why they animated the fish the way they did. I can't remember her name right now.
Cleo.
Thank you. I was just so confused. I'm like, why is this fish such like a lovable flirt? Like, she wanted smooches from everybody. Like, she was like the center of the show.
Yeah, Cleo's great too.
She stole Pinocchio's first kiss. He's like, I've only been alive for 5 minutes.
Sorry. And I absolutely love Geppetto. Every time he's on screen, he steals the show.
Yeah.
He was. I want to say he might have been my favorite character. He was just so enjoyable to see on screen. Just a good man. Just overall, I was like, that's just a good man.
Right.
You know.
I don't know if it was like emphasis on his age or what, but like when he first got reunited with Pinocchio inside of Monstro, and Pinocchio's like Papa, like Father, like I'm here. And he's like, hold on, Pinocchio, and like just still fishing and like still going, like not paying attention. Like he knew he was there, but he didn't even think about it. It was second thought kind of thing. And then he finally realizes, and then ends up hugging the fish instead of him. And
yeah, I have more notes on that in the humor section. But yeah,
and then a similar kind of like mindset when Pinocchio actually becomes the real boy at the very end. In the bed, Geppetto's got his head down on the bed.
Oh, yeah.
And, Pinocchio's like, Father, like, I'm here. And he's like, no, I know. Like, you're dead. Like, no,
I have that written down.
No, Pinocchio, you're dead. Go lie down.
Yeah.
He says, Father, what you crying for? And Geppetto goes, because you're dead. And Pinocchio goes, no, I'm not. And Geppetto goes, yes, you are. Now lie down.
It was kind of the same feeling. It was the same instance both times, but in a different way. And I don't know, it was great.
That is indeed great.
This is the part that kills me. No, you aren't dead. Just go lie down.
I absolutely love the fact that he made Figaro his own bed. A full-on headboard, footboard, everything. Sheets.
Then he ends up sleeping with them anyway.
Yeah, I was like, man, he just left his own bed.
I need to point out one thing too. Like, I just remember this. Like, they written Pinocchio very well as a kid, and I mean, like a kid in general, like a toddler, is perfect. Because when when Pinocchio first came to life and they were laying down in the bed, he was telling them things. And Pinocchio would ask the question that every kid asks about 15 times, and you just kind of give up after a while. And that word is why.
Yeah.
Why?
We need to
and
go
it's
sleep.
100% what a kid does on a regular basis.
Right.
I mean, that could also tie back into the fact, day one, Geppetto's like, go to school. Ask me why. Go ask the right people.
Right.
This boy's got too many questions. Send them now.
So,
I can't answer all these.
Back to Jiminy Cricket real quick. That dude was a little hornball, huh? Anything that looked like a female object, he was flirting up a storm with them.
Oh, absolutely.
Straight up, like, a girl come in, hey, can you do this thing? Oh, of course I can. Dappers up the tie.
Yeah, but he was dapper about it. He wasn't,
He wasn't gross about it.
Yeah, he was always looking respectful.
He was very respectful about it.
Yeah, like when he put his hand on the porcelain clock button
and apologized.
He apologized. He was embarrassed. Like, he was a hornball, but a respectful one.
You reminded me about all the butt scenes again in the dang beginning of the movie. I was like, why? It's everywhere again. And then it stopped. Oh my god.
So then we get human-sized animals, and there are no other human-sized animals, but no one seems to bat an eye, which Kevin brilliantly told us, Disney magic.
Right.
Gideon was hilarious, and Honest John is an amazing name for a character, especially one that is a con artist.
And a fox.
And a fox.
And to build a little on Gideon, I had some notes here. I love that Gideon didn't talk at all.
Right.
But the way that, they went back to the old silent comedy style, they really use, like the sounds and to put emphasis on his actions.
Yeah. So I'll jump to my humor one. There's something that he did. So I have the moment when Gideon just absolutely blasts Honest John with his mallet, and then his head gets stuck in his hat because of it. That's obviously I love this movie a lot more than Snow White.
I also want to say, this movie felt a lot longer than Snow White. I didn't look at the timestamps at all, but I don't know if it's because this movie had more to unpack than Snow White, or was it just lengthier in general?
Well, there's just more going on in this.
Yeah,
see,
this is a little bit later on, I'll touch on, but it goes into the theme. I noticed there's a lot of them, but I'll touch into what I noticed. Because there were multiple different themes in this, I felt, or messages.
Yeah.
So I'm going to wait till we get to that to touch on it.
For me, this one actually went by faster. It might have been longer in runtime, but it went by faster because I was genuinely enjoying every moment of it, where Snow White was dragging on.
That's fair.
But Stromboli was a good villain. It's very rare that you get multiple good villains in a movie, and this one had 4. So that's very amazing that they were able to pull that off. Because they had Stromboli, they had the Coachman, they had Monstro, and what am I missing?
The thing is, I don't know if
that's what I was wondering. I was like, who's the 4th one?
Honest John,
yeah.
Really?
There you go.
I don't know.
I mean, he's not a good guy.
Yeah, he's really a good guy. He's trafficking Pinocchio.
You're right when you put it that way.
Especially the second time, he most definitely kidnapped Pinocchio.
Well,
he didn't even let him speak, picked him up so he couldn't even walk.
Yeah, the first time
Pinocchio didn't have a choice.
The first time he gave Pinocchio a choice, but the second time he did not.
It was his charisma. His charisma's definitely blindsided me.
So, as far as when you said about a villain with Monstro, I don't know if I can consider Monstro technically a villain, but as more of a force of a force of nature.
Obviously,
right?
he's just a whale, and that's his nature. But he's not their friend.
Well, I mean, but I can't say villain. That's what I'm getting at. He doesn't. I don't know. He's not necessarily out to be, bad. He's just being his force of nature.
What kind of lengths did he go to get Geppetto and Pinocchio back inside of him, though?
They burned the inside of his mouth. I would want revenge.
He chased him for so long. All the way to a face plant into that. Well, yeah, so guess
created him, gave him
he
smoke.
wanted him back. He wanted him back.
Hear me out, though.
You do it to a normal whale, whales run away, alright?
Hear me out. I get where you're coming from, Mike. I do agree with Kevin. They didn't necessarily set his mouth on fire. They set the ship on fire. All he had to do was go into the water and, suck in some water. That's all he had to do. But he did go out of his way to murder them. He even, when he dove, he said, nah, catch this tail.
Did you know that technically being set on fire isn't the worst part of it? The worst part is actually the smoke.
Right.
Because the smoke releases a poison.
Yeah,
into your body,
and it's the source of it's in his body. So
all he had to do was go underwater.
That's actually worse.
Yeah. Last thing I want to say about the villain or the characters is a fun fact from the source material. Pinocchio is actually a little turd, so much so that he even kills Jiminy Cricket by smashing him with a mallet. And then Jiminy Cricket
got the mallet scene now.
Jiminy Cricket comes back as a ghost to haunt him into being a good kid.
Respectfully, I would too.
Hey, at least then he could actually work to get the job done. Instead of be like, all right, you figure it out, Pinocchio. I'm gonna walk away.
If you guys don't have any other notes for characters, we can move on to visuals and animation.
Visuals and animation? No.
Well, this works for both, right? Because it's about the fairy.
Okay.
but it's about her animation.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know if it stuck out to you guys. Her animation is a lot is different than the others.
They did it
The
differently.
others have like
Yep,
this
it's
kind of
hazy.
yeah. She almost
Is
looked
it
like she was like
mocap
the
in a way?
exact same animation as Snow White, right? Like the same like type of like movement in the face and outlining to it, like you said, the haziness, and everyone else was in their own type of animation style. I don't know. Something I noticed that popped out right away to me,
Yeah.
and I was like, "That's kind of cool."
So I learned this
It's just
today
otherworldly.
while doing research. Unlike the other characters in the movie, the Blue Fairy was animated via rotoscoping rather than freehand.
Okay, that's what I figured. I called it mocap because that's the wrong term for it. The right term was what you said. I just couldn't figure out what it was.
Yeah, I had to
Was
look
that
it up. Rotoscoping. I couldn't remember either, so I had to look it up.
was that done purposely?
Well, I mean,
believe
yeah,
so.
they did it. They chose to do it.
Well,
I
I
think the
didn't know
reason
if
that
it would
they
be like
did
the
it
thing
that
that was
way.
like
I think they tried to
conscious
make her look
decision or
different because she was
something someone else
magical.
decided. Like,
Yeah.
okay, I guess I'm saying was it done purposely to give her, like I said, that otherworldly feel?
Yeah, I
of
would
being
think.
this outside force.
I think that the first one was their goal to make her seem like she was magical, more magical.
The talking cricket.
I don't know about you guys, but I didn't think the animation was that much more impressive than Snow White, except for the colors maybe being more vibrant.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I feel like the animation didn't change very much. It was just the palette that they
Yeah.
chose. It was amazing.
Two notes on the animation here.
mhm.
One of them was right before Geppetto is sending Pinocchio off to school. You could tell in between the making of Snow White and this, they overhauled their multiplane camera, and you can really tell that when there's actually a shot and they're zooming in through the streets
Right.
trying to get to Geppetto's shop,
Yep.
and they're panning from left to right and
And
zooming
yeah, it's
into the
very
streets,
fluid.
and it, yeah, it's very fluid, showing the different depths, and you could tell they had a lot of fun with that one.
Yeah, that's an awesome scene. I have that as a note for world building down
Kevin,
below.
Yeah. And
There's
then the
something
other
that-
one was the final scene with Monstro just again, they didn't put too much depth in that one, but just like the hard lines,
Mhm.
like you could really feel that. I guess that's more of the emotional, but it's like they did that action scene very well.
I agree with that.
What were you trying to say to Quandrick?
I was gonna say that there was there was another thing that I did notice about the animation. You reminded me by saying like when they were panning into Geppetto's shop, when Honest John was walking down the street, like they weren't quite like you can tell if you look at the animation quite well, right. It's not that the characters were actually moving; it's more along the lines that the environment was moving and they were walking in place, giving the idea that they're walking forward.
Yeah, I also with the visuals and animation. This ties into my favorite scene is actually the marionette show when Pinocchio's doing his whole thing. You can tell they really used that multiplane camera, and they did a lot of shadowing and stuff to put emphasis on it, on the different depths and the foreground, background, all that.
Right.
I kind of like the fact that because they were working with puppets and not like technical like real physical anatomy, they got to go a little bit crazier with what they could do with a lot of the spinning, flips and breaking things like that. Like they were able to be a little bit more like untamed, I guess the word could be, or they could go a little bit crazier with the animation, and I enjoyed it, especially in the marionette scene. It was really good.
So I think the scene when the Stromboli first pulls away in his carriage and Pinocchio's in the cage and it's all bouncing around and he's falling trying to keep his balance, that was like fantastically animated. Like it was so smooth with him stumbling all over the place. It's just so incredible to think that they just drew these frame by frame and put them together. I couldn't even imagine.
Yeah. And going off of that, kind of a little bit the opposite of it is This is more so the old style. Is like in the background they had to have something going on, and if we look at the scene of when Pinocchio first arrives to what is it, Pleasure Island, I
Pleasure
think
Island,
it's
yeah.
called.
Yeah.
And it's just the background, you see the Ferris wheel going, and you see, you know, the crowds of boys, this and that. But if you look, they have it on loop because they want the motion back there, but they didn't they didn't want to take all the time and money to, you know, to draw out, you know, different things happening for, you know, this, you know, minute or two long scene. So they just have the background looping, and it's just silhouettes. But if you look at the Ferris wheel, there's actually a boy consistently falling off of the Ferris wheel and getting caught by his legs and pulled back
That's
in, and he falls
incredible.
probably about 15 times or so in that scene alone. And you know, it just I really love, you know, they just keep repeating it, and it just I love that aspect of, you know, the classic movies.
So with that, there's the scene when he's going to Pleasure Island on the carriage, and it's a far shot of the
yep.
carriage. All the kids are animated in the laziest way possible. None of them have faces. There's just holes in their head.
All right.
And you can't really tell if they're like laughing and having a good time or
Right.
crying. It's very left up to interpretation there.
Keeps you, you know, like that uneasiness about the place they're going to.
And then the last thing I have to say about the animation is I hate the way that Pinocchio is drawn as a real boy. I don't know why,
Thank you.
but
Thank you.
I prefer him as a puppet.
Is it?
Yeah, they
It's
kind of
not
met
a
in
very
the
good
middle
look
there.
at the end.
What they did with the rest of the movie is, like, you know, the bold, hard lines, and like we were talking about, you know, the Blue Fairy earlier is more of like, you know, the faded lines, the blurred, and he kind of, when he became a real boy, it kind of met in the middle there, and I agree, it was a little off.
Yeah.
Also, so I don't know if anyone else had this with like Pinocchio's design, and it kind of, I guess, played on from my mind because of how popular you guys were saying like Dopey was.
Mhm.
He looked like, I don't know, when I looked at him, I'm like, he looks very similar in design to like Dopey, like in the face structure wise. I
Yeah,
thought
it's very possible because the way Disney does it, I don't know if they still do it this way because everything's computer now, but the way they used to do it is one person would be assigned one character. So it's very possible that the same person who drew Dopey drew Pinocchio.
And I didn't know if it was like because of that, or were they like, well, Dopey's a really popular character. Can we try to replicate that same attachment to this character to Pinocchio with design wise?
That's possible too. If you guys don't have anything else, we can move on to music and soundtrack.
All right, let's do it.
So first, obviously, "When You Wish Upon a Star" is probably the most iconic Disney song ever.
Period. Yep.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
without a
I
doubt.
mean, they tell you it themselves by making it their intro song.
Yep.
For everything.
It's very fitting too, having
Yeah.
the star go past Disney Castle and whatnot.
Now, do you guys have a favorite version of that song?
I generally don't have a favorite version.
Because like
No.
a billion people have sang it. Most people think Jiminy Cricket's at the beginning is the best. But what is mine? Christina Perry's version is my favorite.
I don't know really any of the different versions, I would say, but I think Jiminy Cricket's is the most iconic, I would
Yeah.
say. So I don't really have a favorite because I don't know them, but
Yeah.
his is the most iconic one because obviously the first one.
Yeah. And then the next song we get is, well, technically there's a soundtrack in the middle, but the next song we get is "Give a Little Whistle." Give a Little Whistle. And it's okay. It's not great, but it's okay.
I'll be honest, that is my favorite song in the movie.
You guys are just revealing all your favorites beforehand. Before we get to the favorite segment.
Yep. Yep.
And then we get "High Diddly Dee," which is a pretty good song, but I'm going to say something a little controversial here. I prefer Keegan-Michael Key's version from the live-action remake.
I have not seen the live action, so I wouldn't know.
I'm going to talk more about that in the legacy part.
I'm trying to remember how that one goes right now.
Hi Diddly Dee, An Actor's Life for Me.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. That's the one that sold it for me. I was like, which one?
It's a great song.
Was
And then the last song is I Got No Strings on Me, which is, or is it
Yep.
just called I Got No Strings? I don't know. But that's a
That
pretty
is
good
really
song
good
too.
song, too.
That's
I
been in
like
a lot of stuff. I think most notably The Avengers. When Ultron comes to life, he sings that song.
Yep.
What?
Yeah,
I
because
remember him saying it. I don't remember him singing it.
yeah. Well, he doesn't sing it. He says it, and then
It's been a while,
he
man.
plays the song.
Was that when they're fighting on the boat or something?
No, that's when he first comes to life.
Oh, when he first comes to life. I didn't know if it was when he has like the first fight with them on the boat with like Wanda and
No, I'm pretty sure it's their
What's the guy's name?
their
Quicksilver.
first fight in the Avengers Tower.
okay.
Go.
But
There are no
that's
strings
a
on
different
me.
movie. We'll do that in our Marvel podcast.
Wait a minute.
I mean, I don't really have much else to add for music. So, unless you guys got something.
I don't really got anything. All I can say is all the music in this movie was greatly better than all the music in Snow White. No disrespect to Snow White. Just personal opinion.
1000% agree.
I agree as well. There was a lot more also jazzier, like just kind of like tunes in the background. Like it felt like there wasn't really much silence. Like Snow White felt like there was more about based on the actual songs or lyrics. This one was like it had that, but a lot more like enjoyable tunes actually just in the background. At least that's how I thought, because I was like, the music's a lot more enjoyable and it's a lot more like relevant or not relevant, but I felt like it was more prominent throughout the movie as I was watching.
Yeah. The background music's definitely better. So emotional impact. The film does a great job of making you laugh, making you feel happy. It does a really good job of showing you trauma and making you feel uncomfortable. Like
Yes.
when Pinocchio gets locked in Stromboli's cage and he threatens him by telling him he's going to turn him into firewood. That is just heartbreaking.
Yeah, and he throws the axe and it goes into the other marionette doll. Oh my
That
goodness.
man's accuracy is godlike.
Wow.
And then talking about more heartbreaking stuff, Alexander the donkey, when he says, I want to go home to my mama, that is, oh my God.
That scene alone was like the most drastic one to me. Like Pinocchio being locked in the cage was pretty bad, and them seeing like what the guy's capable of was bad, but quite literally seeing a person break down from a panic attack and fear,
Right.
and them like their desperate cries, I was like, yo, he's really feeling it.
Even Lampwick, when he turns into a donkey, he's been acting all cool and too cool for stuff all this whole time. But when he starts turning into a donkey, he just absolutely loses it. And he is so scared and he's so vulnerable and he's freaking out. He yells for his mama, too. That's, oh my God. This movie's so dark.
That scene to me is that scene to me is the darkest. The thing, though, that threw me off, and this isn't necessarily about the exact like theme, I'm surprised they got away with what they said.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Like what they called it. I was like, wait, there's no way they
timing.
actually said that, and I had to rewind it, and they actually said it. I was like, what?
Yeah. Well, I'm assuming back then it wasn't as common as a swear word.
It just meant really donkey back then. And when Jiminy first said it, it was actually just foreshadowing
Him turning into a donkey.
That they turned him into donkeys. Yeah.
Now, I do have a question for you all,
Mm-hmm.
because this may be something that I glanced over while watching. I may have spaced out, but when they went to that place, now was it the environment that they were in that caused them turning into the donkeys, or was it like, because for some odd reason my childhood brain remembers them drinking something or eating something that caused the transformation?
Don't think
They were
it is.
drinking
Yeah, I don't think it is like very noticeable, but I think it's implied that it's the drink that they're drinking.
Okay.
Well, while they were there, they were drinking like actual alcohol. They were smoking like tobacco, like cigars and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like they were doing basically all this bad stuff that makes, that really harms a child.
Yeah.
So it's like them being bad kids, destroying everything, and ingesting all that stuff is what, turned them into that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
the
like a
reason I
package deal.
yeah, the reason I asked that is because when Pinocchio got out of that place, his transformation didn't continue.
That's a
So
good
I
point.
was wondering if it was like the environment that he was in that, because it's kind of like poetic in a way. The environment you raise a kid in is the way they become. So if you
So
raise them
that's
around a bunch of,
yeah. So
jackasses,
that goes to Mike's point of saying that once he stopped doing the bad stuff, he stopped transforming.
yeah,
Yeah,
Like
he
saw him
realized
turning
soon
into.
enough.
Yeah, he saw the other guy turning, and he was like, "I'm not gonna drink this no more." Then he
right.
saw him smoke again and turn again. He's like, "I'm not smoking this no more."
But
Like he stopped before it went too far.
I'm pretty sure in the live action remake, it's very clear that it's the drink that's doing it.
Okay, cool.
But this is not the live action version, so I can't take that
Right.
as canon.
Yeah,
But
I
to
like
get
both ideas.
just to get away from the tragicness, Geppetto is so pure. Like he got so excited that there was a wishing star, and he got on his knees and made a wish. Like there's so much love in that guy. He's so great.
He's a good guy.
Agreed.
And that's all I have for emotion. So you guys can take it away from there, or we can move on.
I just want to say one last thing, and I want to say I do love the fact that, as people say, you put good into the world and you get good back. You put bad in the world, you get bad back.
Yeah.
And I love that the fairy acknowledged the fact that Geppetto has put so much good into the world, so she gave him the one thing that he ever wanted.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, if only she didn't half do the job. Like she's like, you've been so
Well,
good.
to be
I'm gonna
fair-
give you exactly what you deserve. A real boy. Actually, half real boy. He's alive, but he's still a puppet. He's got to figure it out himself.
To be
He's
fair
gonna
to her,
prove himself.
to be fair to her, if she made him a real boy, he probably would have died in those terrible things that happened to him. So he had to learn not to do that stuff.
Wait, do you
Trial
think she saw
phase.
it? What if she had like foresight? She knew
Yeah.
all that bad stuff was gonna happen.
It's
He was like,
magic.
he's gonna have to learn.
So let's not make him vulnerable.
Don't make him vulnerable because he's not gonna learn by words. He's gonna learn by action, by doing.
So message and theme, I only have one note on this, and that's just what the message and theme thing is. And the message of the movie is to avoid temptation and be a good person. Honest, true. Be honest and be true. I love... Okay, my notes are all super jacked up. Let me work this out here. So the line is honest. I don't know. Just forget what I'm saying. I don't even know what I'm trying to read here.
Wing it.
You guys talk while I try to figure this out. What's the message?
Right. So the message to the movie for me is similar to what you said. Avoid temptation, be honest, be true, and there are no shortcuts in life without horrible sacrifices.
All right.
Yeah.
I figured it out. Punctuation is key when making notes, guys. I love the line, a lie keeps growing and growing until it's as plain as the nose on your face, which is symbolized by Pinocchio's nose growing every time he lies.
Right.
So I really butchered that. I'm going to cut that out if I remember. And that's all I have for the message.
Kevin, did you have anything you wanted to add to it?
Nope.
Okay, so when I mentioned earlier, there's so many different themes in this I saw. There was there's so many different themes you can easily look into it. It's like, one, follow your conscience, because your conscience will tell you right from wrong. And then the next one, don't trust strangers. Those people, you don't know them. Why are you trusting them? They're probably not good people. You can't just trust anybody on the street, especially as a child. You should never do that.
Yeah.
Then the next message of there are no shortcuts in life. You can try to take a shortcut, but it's not going to pan out well for you. So don't try to just go for the easiest thing. Don't try to go for shortcuts. Put in the work for what you want. And then there's the one of, obviously, don't do these bad things.
Right.
Don't smoke, don't drink, it's bad for you.
Yeah.
Like, don't be a bad kid, don't be what they said.
Sorry.
And I feel like there was another one too. The ending theme of be courageous, be kind, look out for the ones you care about. There's just so many different messages that I was watching. I'm like, it's kind of like overloading because there's like 5 different messages I got from this movie.
Oh yeah.
As in
Yeah,
Snow
being
White, there was
selfless.
nothing. It's like I don't know what the message is. This one is like there's like 5.
Yeah. It's I think, in my opinion, it's leaps and bounds above Snow White. But we'll get to that when we get to the ratings. But next segment is category is humor. There's a lot of funny moments in this movie, mainly because of Geppetto and Figaro. I love Figaro.
Jiminy.
Oh yeah, Jiminy's great too. But I love Figaro being forced to say goodnight to Cleo. That was fantastic.
Cleo was loving it.
Come on, you could say he's like, oh, fine night.
I have so many notes on Geppetto. So I have all the clocks go off, and because obviously a clock goes off when it hits a certain time, and Geppetto goes, I wonder what time it is, and then he looks at his pocket watch.
That man has like 20 clocks. It's like, dang, how many times you need to know the time?
Well, he's a clockmaker.
Well, I mean, he's more than just a clockmaker.
Well, he is a woodworker, but he sells clocks.
Yeah, there you go.
He did have a lot of clocks.
It was just funny. Because I kind of appreciated that they took so much time to just show, like, 7 different clocks in different, like, they animated 7 different clocks going off on different times to point out the fact that he's got, like, all these going off at the same time. They're like, look at this clock. Now look at this clock. Now you got this clock.
But each clock had its own character,
Oh, yeah.
and I loved each one of them differently. You know, like the one with the turkey neck. He's trying to chop off the turkey's neck every time.
And then there's the other one with the butt humor again. The child abuse. I was like, the butt humor doesn't end.
Yeah, and then we get Geppetto saying it's time for bed, and then he just pulls out a big-ass pipe and starts smoking. A straight-up baller that guy is.
Gentleman. A classy gentleman.
Also, when Jiminy Cricket tries to explain what's right and wrong after Pinocchio gets convinced by Honest John, and he gets super confusing with it, and he asks Pinocchio if he understands, and Pinocchio goes, "Nuh-uh."
Yeah, he definitely dropped the ball and then he fumbled.
Straight up. It's like, like you said, exactly like a kid explaining, just looking at you. Do you got it? Not at all.
Yep.
And then back, just like Kevin was saying with Geppetto just being so, like, oblivious to things, when Pinocchio first wakes up and he falls off the table making a bunch of noise, and Geppetto wakes up, and he goes, who's there? And then Pinocchio goes, it's me. And then Geppetto goes, oh, it's me, and then lays back down.
It's only me.
Speaking of that, like, this man Geppetto was like strapped. He'd pull out from under his leg. I'm like, yo, bro.
Yo, I was like,
right under his pillow.
whoa, he's ready. Yo.
This one, it kind of
gosh.
ties in both with the humor and the animation of it. But when Geppetto is snoring, his glasses are moving like with his face to put emphasis on it.
That's
I was
amazing.
Like, oh.
You know,
Or the or when they first get underwater and Jiminy's in the bubble.
Oh,
And he pops the bubble with his umbrella, and instead of just the bubble popping, it like pokes a hole and it fills with water before completely bursting.
Yeah, and
I
then
just realized that
go
there's
ahead,
2
Mike.
different sorry, I was gonna say there's like when you mentioned about the snoring, it just reminded me that there was like that whole snoring scene in Snow White as well. That's kind of cool that they did that they kind of kept it with it.
So then we also get a part where Jiminy Cricket is telling Pinocchio to go and tell Honest John that he needs to get to school and he can't go with him. And then Pinocchio says, okay. And then as soon as he goes back to Honest John, he goes, bye, Jiminy.
It's just like, okay, just tell him you can't go, you gotta go to school, right? You got it? Yeah, I got it. Okay, go tell him. Okay. You ready to go to the theater, kid? Yeah, let's go. Bye, Jimmy. Like, wait, what just happened to the conversation we just had? Child.
See, that's like people pleasers all around the world just feel that on a daily basis. Like, it's not that easy to say no to people all the time. Like, oh, okay, like you wanna, okay.
Oh, yeah. Figaro's high chair. That's incredible.
Yeah.
oh, speaking of that, dude, like, I love how accepting, like, Cleo is, because Figaro's quite literally eating a distant relative, and you're okay. You don't even mind it.
You know what it is? I don't know them.
Yeah.
Where was Cleo with them in Monstro?
Yes,
Yep.
she
Yeah.
was.
I don't remember her being there, but that's amazing.
I love how much he cares for his companions, animal companions, because he didn't have to bring any of them with him to go look for Pinocchio, but he carried a fishbowl and a kitten with him. He's like, "We're about to go get our son. All right, we're getting our family."
Right.
Tight family unit right there.
Right.
Yeah, so
I was like, I don't know how to feel about this. I'm like, on one hand, I like that you are like, I'm not gonna leave them because I might be a while and they still need to be taken care of, so I'm going to take them with me. You know, and it's a family thing. We're all going to look together. But at the same time, this also seems like a little like you brought a whole fishbowl, my man.
yeah, Cleo. The likelihood in real life of Cleo staying in that fishbowl during that whole thing is not high, but Disney magic.
Disney magic.
So my favorite part that's not Geppetto is when Gideon is taking notes for Honest John the second time, I think.
Yes.
And he's just scribbling.
He's writing off the pad.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's writing in mid-air.
And then
Like,
Honest John
write it all down.
says, "Give me the paper." So he gives him the paper, and it's just scribbles all over it. And he was like, "Yep,
And he's like,
you're
"Oh,
allergic."
yes, this makes perfect sense."
And then the part that killed me at the end, he's like, yes, I see what the problem is. You're allergic.
Yep.
It's like, wait, what? And he's like, we gotta go now. Like, wait, allergic to what?
Yeah. And then of course,
Pinocchio don't know, so it's just like, oh, we could just fool this kid with this. He's allergic. Perfect.
and of course, the two funniest scenes Kevin already brought up with Geppetto just being clueless and then realizing what's happening. So great. So if that's all you guys have for humor, we can go to let's do world building. The movie does a great job of making you feel immersed in this world, whereas, like Mike pointed out in Snow White, you really didn't get a sense of anything that was in that world other than the cottage. So, like what Kevin said, that shot through the village, that was just that one shot alone just gave you, like, this is their world.
It gives it more life than just an empty forest.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, oh, there's buildings, there's towns, there's doors that lead to, like, either, like, you know, shops or houses. You know there's a school, there's other kids there, you even hear a lot of them talking, not just like, I'm in charge of a kingdom, but you never see the kingdom. It's like, you gotta go to school with these kids, and you hear the kids in the background all running towards school. It plays a bigger effect.
Yeah. And then, inside Monstro, the world that they built in Monstro's mouth is amazing.
Yep.
Like, they built a whole ecosystem in there with fish that Geppetto's catching, and he's living on a boat. It was great. It's fantastic stuff.
Where did Geppetto get that boat?
So in the, again, live action, not the same thing, but in the live action version, he sells all of the clocks that he has been saving because he loved them too much. They didn't want to sell them, so he sold all of them to get the money to buy a boat so that he can go save Pinocchio.
I'm sitting there, I'm like, I know I space a lot when I'm watching the movie because I get entranced and I start thinking about things when I'm watching the movie, so I don't collect all the data.
Yeah.
But I don't remember that man having a boat.
No. But there was a scene in this movie where they were going to explain why or where he went, how he got the boat, and how he got swallowed by Monstro, but they cut it all.
Okay, cool.
And then the last thing I have for this is that Pleasure Island, I learned this today too, was originally called Booby Land. Because Booby with a B. Because I guess back then, boobies were not what boobies are today. They are stupid people. Or silly people.
I only know that phrase because of Drake and Josh.
Right, Megan.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, no, the world building with Pleasure Island, they did a good job with that one.
Oh yeah.
Like you could tell, you know, the crowds of kids, of boys, you know, just having all the freedom of doing whatever they could never do, you know, back in the real world.
Right.
The thing that also gets me about Pleasure Island as well is I feel like that area was, in my opinion, the best designed area for the movie, because it's a place where bad boys go. Obviously, we all know
Mhm.
that. And when Jiminy Cricket shows up there, he's like, "This place is like a graveyard. Where are all the kids?"
Yeah.
And when that, I forgot the guy's name, but
The
when he
coachman.
tells
The coachman?
yeah, when the coachman tells the guys to close the door, they don't even look like people. They
Yeah.
No,
look
they're
like
the little
demons, spirits.
shadow henchmen.
Well, it kind of plays into the fact that in when you first see him, and he talks about like you need to go get me like these dumb kids and bring them to me. He gets like that like devilish shadow around him, and his like
Right.
skin turns like partially red and stuff.
Yeah, those shadow creatures had a bigger role in the original story, which is why I said that it was a lot darker of a movie.
Oh, I can imagine.
So we can jump right into legacy then. Pinocchio is one of few movies that has a perfect 100 on Rotten Tomatoes, and
That
that
has a what?
a perfect 100.
Wow.
Yep.
That is very impressive. And the movie is beloved by everyone. It made a ton of money. Pinocchio and Geppetto still have roles in the parades at Disney World.
Yeah.
It's like we said, "Wish Upon a Star" is one of the most iconic songs ever, if not the most.
Yep. Period. Yeah.
But there are some negative legacy points that I want to point out. The showgirl puppets, those were risky.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they were indeed risky. You could tell by Jiminy's reaction.
Gideon and Honest John, Gideon and Honest John having cigars and beer, and then Gideon blowing a smoke ring and then grabbing it out of the air and dipping it in his beer like it's a donut.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Lampwick and Pinocchio smoking cigars. There's
yeah.
even a scene where Lampwick teaches Pinocchio how to smoke it properly. But you do have to give him credit because
Quote,
he
unquote.
gets sick from it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But the biggest legacy thing that I want to talk about, I couldn't put it in the plot because it's a victim of its time, because I don't think this was as big of a problem back then as it is now. But as a husband and as a father, the human trafficking storyline is just horrifying to me.
Very cringy. Yeah.
And I can't.
Well, back then it wasn't.
It's not as bad as it was
mainstream, like,
now.
No way. I mean, back then, kids can run the streets, from morning till night, and
Yeah.
parents wouldn't worry about them.
Yeah, and
Because
now
there was a lot less to worry about.
yeah, and with my son, he'll never be in our front yard without me out there.
Nope. Times are different.
Yeah,
And that's
So-
that's one thing, going back and watching all these is, you gotta realize, times have changed.
That's why-
things are different.
that's why I didn't mention it in the plot, because it's not a plot issue, it's a legacy issue because times have
Yeah.
changed.
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
it's
at
just-
least I would say give it the thing. They play it off like they don't like make fun of this happening.
No, it is menacing. They truly make it
Oh, yeah.
menacing.
Yeah.
They don't make it a joke.
Yeah, they play it as a serious thing, and it's just like a point of like what happens in the movie, and it's like a way of, I guess I would say, drawing attention to a thing. Again, one of the messages I saw was, do not trust strangers.
Right.
You do not know them. Do not follow people you do not know.
Yeah. And then the legacy thing that I have pointed out is that I think it's a bad look that he didn't get taken down. But again, back then he probably wasn't as big of a villain as he appears to be now. So
Yeah.
The ringmaster, or
the coachman, yeah.
oh, okay, I didn't know what exactly his name was. I was just like, evil dude.
But
Like I would say the actual like evil dude, like the one who's like having people do these things for him.
right, the coachman.
Yeah,
Stromboli's the puppet guy.
yeah. Not a good
Um,
person
no,
either. He
no.
does similar things.
Yeah. We never really had closure with Stromboli either. Like, he just, they got Pinocchio out of there. And,
Well, because he was heading
just,
to a different city, and he thought he had
exactly,
Pinocchio
just
locked
rode
up.
off into the distance.
In the again, bringing up the live action, there's closure to his story in that one. So I'll jump right into my next note mentioning that. This is such a beloved movie that Disney decided to make a live-action adaptation. Say what you will about live-action movies, but Disney will not make a movie if they don't think people are going to watch it. And the original's so good that they feel it's good enough to make the live-action movie. And hot take, I like the live-action version better.
I gotta check this out because that's a pretty hot take.
Yeah, because Tom Hanks is Geppetto. That's all you need to know.
Yeah,
I love Tom Hanks.
the live action remakes are very hit or miss for me. Like,
oh yeah, you guys have made that clear in many of our conversations.
Oh, yeah.
But there's 3 that I like better than the original, and this is one of them.
What are the other 2 then?
Oh, I'll leave that for suspicion. Suspense. No, I'll tell you. Alice in Wonderland. I like the live action ones better. And this one is very, very not a popular take. Is I like the live action Beauty and the Beast better.
Okay. Hey, yeah, I don't disagree. If you're going to say Lion King, we're going to have problems.
See, no, I like the live action Lion
Animal
King.
Planet with dub over.
I like the live action Lion King, but if I wanted to watch Lion King, 10 times out of 10, I'm putting the cartoon one on.
Exactly, yeah, no, the live action, as much as I love Seth Rogen, we'll get to that when the time comes.
Yeah.
When we cross that bridge.
So I have some more notes for Legacy. Where'd they go? Pinocchio won 2 Academy Awards. One for Best Original Score and Best Original Song on When You Wish Upon a Star.
Makes sense.
One thing that did affect the worldwide box office is that this movie was released during World War II. So they couldn't really release it in Europe, obviously. And then after the success of Snow White, this isn't really related, but I wanted to bring it up. Roy and Walt went all in on animation after the success of Snow White, and they used money. They used the money from Snow White to build the now famous animation studio in Burbank, California, and started working on this movie and Bambi. And
they definitely doubled down.
Another fun fact, also not related to Legacy, but Walt was very unhappy with how the movie was coming along at some point. And Roy was on vacation out of the country. And Roy, if you don't know, was the money guy. He had to keep Walt under wraps because Walt didn't care whatsoever about money. So Roy had to keep him straight. But Roy was in Europe. So Walt scrapped over 2,300 feet of film and had everyone start over. while Roy wasn't there to tell him no. He sent him a letter while he was overseas and said, "We're starting over."
Well, at least he gave him warning. He didn't wait till he came back.
He comes back and be like, "All right, ready to get back to work." "Oh, no, we started over. It's done." "What?" "You did what now?"
Yeah. So, if you guys don't have anything else for Legacy, we'll go to the last one, which is overall enjoyment. And this movie is just very charming. It's funny, it's dark, and it's entertaining.
My overall enjoyment, I gotta admit, like, on the surface, I don't like Pinocchio, but this movie overall is amazing. It's a great movie. I enjoyed my entire time watching it. It wasn't a moment where I'm like, okay, now I'm slogging through it. No, I enjoyed every piece.
Right. So, Mike and Kevin, you guys say. I'm sorry. I'm trying, moving too fast.
Just going off what Dequan said, is there wasn't a dull moment. It was always something, always progressing the story and action scenes or this, or, comedy here, there, or learning, Pinocchio learning through all of it because, he's ignorant. He's just becoming real. So. Always something going on.
This is a good movie. That's all I gotta say. I could just go into the basic thing of how we mentioned earlier. It felt longer, but it's because they had a lot more stuff going on. And feeling longer doesn't always mean, oh, that means it was dragging. It's not that it dragged. It's like you could just feel like through the multiple different things that they're telling you, showing you. There's like
Yep.
6 different, well, not 6 exactly, but I would say there's about 4 different areas you traverse to throughout this whole movie, right? You got like Geppetto's shop, the streets, Stromboli's act, into the cage, the what was it? Pleasure Island,
Pleasure
right?
Island.
Yep.
Yep.
Pleasure Island, the inside of Monstro, outside of Monstro, like all that. There's yeah, there is like 6 different areas you're traversing to throughout this whole movie, other than just a different view of the forest, a different view of the forest.
Yeah.
Here's a cabin,
Oh, yeah.
here's a castle.
That was, Snow White was just the dipping the toes in. They were just
You have to start somewhere.
the first animation, the first animated film. So it's like you could tell with this one, it was really, they were throwing a lot more at it. They were taking more risk, I guess you could say, in a way. They were really stretching the boundaries of what they could do.
Oh yeah.
Even over just such a short period of time. It was only a couple years between the release of Snow White and this.
Oh yeah. It was 3 years, 4 years, 3 years.
Yeah.
3 years. Yeah, it came out in 40. Snow
So,
White came out in
not only did
37.
not only did they take the time to do all the improvements to the studio, you think, Snow White took 4 years to make. This one they put out 3 years after Snow White.
Yeah, so they built
also
a new
at the same
studio.
time, yeah.
They wrote a new story. They animated a new story. They wrote a new story twice. They started working on Bambi first, but then Walt decided that they weren't ready to release Bambi, so they went to Pinocchio. So in the span of 3 years,
and it's not something you can tell. It's not like, you don't watch this film and be like, wow, like this is really rushed, or
Right.
they cut corners, or it's missing, there's plot holes or anything like that. It's well done, and like you said earlier, it's well deserving of the 100% on Rotten Tomatoes.
So with that, we'll go into our ratings. So now, DeQuandre and Mike, I'm gonna make a statement. We just talked about all the topics. So we don't need to go into it. We just need the numbers. Just trying to. We're already at. I think we're at an hour, so we're doing good. We are doing good. So DeQuandre, storyline / plot.
I'll give that a 9.
Wow. What was the next one? Characters.
Characters, a 10.
Nice. This is going to be a highly rated movie. Visuals / animation.
Visual / animation, I'll give that a 9 as well.
Music / soundtrack.
I'll give that an 8.
Holy cow. Emotional impact.
I'll give that one more of a 7.
Message / theme.
That's an 8 as well.
Humor.
9.
World building.
World building, that's a 7 for me.
Legacy.
Legacy, I'll give that an 8 as well.
And then general enjoyment.
10.
So that gives you a total of 85. That is a lot higher than your 65 for Snow White. Kevin?
Alrighty.
Do you have the
storyline
okay.
plot? Yeah, I've got the list here. Storyline plot, I'm gonna do an 8. Characters, 7.
Ooh, shoot.
Visuals, animation, 7. Music, soundtrack, let's go with 8. Emotional impact, 8. Message, theme, 7. Humor, go with 7. World building, 8. Legacy, 7. overall 9.
You had a 76. So I'm just realizing something. In my notes, I had a bunch of random numbers, and I was like, what the heck is this? Okay. And I got rid of them all, and now I'm realizing those were my ratings.
Wing it.
Yeah. Oh, they're still here if I hit undo. There we go. Okay. Mike, you're up. You got the list, or you need me to...
I have it. I was just writing out my numbers right now, and I got to about emotional impact. So I'll just run it through real quick, I guess.
Yeah.
Storyline, I had written an 8. Characters, I gave it a 9. Visuals and animation, I gave it a 9. Music and soundtrack, I gave a 7. Emotional impact, I'm stuck between like a 7 and an 8. I think I'll go with a 7 for that one. Yeah, 7 will be good. I'll give 7. The message and theme, I'm gonna give it an 8. Humor, I'm gonna give an 8. Then we did legacy.
World building.
World building.
Yeah.
That's my bad. I'm gonna give that a 9. Thought it was really good. Legacy, I'll give an 8. And overall enjoyment, I'm gonna give an 8.
And that gives you an 81.
Cool.
So for me, I tried to not let how much better this is from Snow White inflate my numbers. Because, like, obviously compared to Snow White, the message and theme for this is a 10. But compared to everything else, I don't know if I'd give it a 10. So for storyline, I gave it a 7. Characters, I gave it a 7. Visuals / animation, I gave a 6. Music and soundtrack, I gave a 5. Emotional impact, 6. Message and theme, 6. Humor, 7. And overall enjoyment, I gave it a 6, but I'm going to change that. I think I'm going to give it an 8 for overall enjoyment, because even just this podcast made me like it more.
You're missing world building and legacy.
Who?
You.
Me?
Yeah, you.
Yeah, you didn't say
Couldn't be. Then who?
Oh, did I? Oh, I did. You are right.
Yes, sir.
What legacy is a 7? World building is a 7. That's why I'm missing numbers.
What can I say?
6.
You're welcome.
That was amazing.
what did I give the humor?
So my total, oh man, that's depressing. My total is a 65. I'm really sorry.
Dang! Hey, guess he didn't like it as much as he thought.
You were a critic there, my friend.
Why did I give
what
a
was,
5?
He was trying so hard to not compare it to Snow White. He wound up bashing it harder than he expected.
I'll bump the music up to a 6 to give that instead of a 5.
Oh goodness.
It's whatever. I'm just gonna stick with my 65. Whatever. Gives us a show rating of 76.75. I'm sorry, Pinocchio.
Only partially.
So now we'll do a really quick theory segment of Bell's fan fiction section. According to one theory, Dopey and Geppetto are actually one and the same. This fan believes that Dopey was never a dwarf, but a human, and when he grew up and he grew tall, the other dwarves abandoned him, and he went to lead a quiet life in Italy, and through his love for Snow White, he made this work. It's a little wacky. He made a wood model of Pinocchio after the child he wished they had.
Okay. Fanfic, 100%. I'm already like, what? Like, is there basis for this?
Nope.
There's no basis. This is just someone's
It's just
wild
someone coming.
fanfic.
I couldn't find anything for theories for this movie.
I mean, to be fair, there isn't a lot of theory there's probably not a lot of theory crafting you can put for this movie because
Nope.
it's very kind of like just cut through to the end of what it is.
Yep. I don't think
But-
that's headcanon. That's too much of a
No,
stretch for me.
Yeah, I
That
know.
one, I'm like, wait, where's this all going? And then the he made it after the child he wished. I'm like, oh, okay,
No.
someone has a fanfic out here.
And then
We gotta draw a line.
I do have another one where Donkey from Shrek was actually a bad kid that got transformed into a donkey, and that is connected because Pinocchio's in Shrek.
Hold on.
Now,
One thing I do want to say real quick is the kids, they weren't bad kids, right?
Well,
They
he said he
weren't
was
bad
collecting
kids.
bad kids.
Yeah,
Well,
but
I thought he was
they
collecting
were. I think
bad
it said dumb kids.
Mm.
I
Yeah,
believe.
kids who
So
were
Donkey was a
corporate.
dumb kid.
Yeah. It's like kids that would give in to
Temptation.
not only the peer pressure, but yeah, the temptations.
of being bad.
Yeah.
They didn't have the conscience to tell them no.
So I'm gonna say that's not headcanon either. there's just
I-
literally nothing to come up for this movie.
I like that one better.
Right?
I don't agree with it being, like a canon thing.
It's just more
possibly.
fun and less creepy.
It makes more. It has more basis behind it. Like,
Yeah, it
'cause-
has more merit.
though I think they gave Donkey a backstory or something because I think he was like cursed or something.
Well, I
or-
mean, there's so many movies. There's like 7 Shrek movies, so who knows?
yeah, who knows? He
We're
probably
actually
one of them
working on
probably
this
does.
one.
And we'll talk about that on our DreamWorks podcast.
Wait,
I'm looking for it. Wait, hold on. Something right here.
So I guess we'll just, as a show, decide neither one of those are canon. And now we're into joy, sadness, anger, fear, and disgust, favorites and frustrations. What was everyone's favorite and least favorite moment of the movie?
Might as well
Declan,
make- wait, favorite moment in the movie?
favorite
was
and least
definitely-
favorite.
Oh, okay, my favorite moment of the movie was the dance number that they had where he was at the puppet show. My
That's a good one.
Yeah.
least favorite,
I said that's a good one.
Oh, my least favorite moment in the movie was Monstro. Like, bro, why are you so desperate to end their lives? Like that annoyed me. So that's my least favorite.
Kevin?
I have to agree with my favorite being the marionette scene, the whole show. The song was just all well done, well animated, well put together. Scoring was great, all of that. The least favorite would have to be the it was both the combination of just the entrapment of Pinocchio and then the trafficking of him.
Right. Mike?
I'm not gonna really be much different with my favorite scene because the marionette show is just so good, So I would say that's probably my favorite. It's hard for me to pick a least favorite. That's actually the one I'm struggling with. I want to say just like the second half of that scene with like Stromboli, the whole locking him up thing. I'm just like, not saying it needs to go, but that was the one part I was like, it didn't really, do much. I was like, okay. If I had to pick one.
So for me, my favorite part, I'm going to be different than you guys, is no, you're dead, lay down. That's my favorite part. It's so good.
Well, if we had a funny one, that is the funniest moment in the whole movie. That is just pure gold. No, I'm
Yep.
alive. No, you're dead. Go lie down.
And then my least favorite, I touched on it before, is the human trafficking element of the movie. And it's because you can do trauma good, like Mufasa's death in Lion King. It's very traumatic, but it's a very good scene. The beginning
Mufasa
of
dies?
Up. Oh, sorry, spoiler alert. The beginning of Up is very traumatic, but it's a very good scene. I didn't like anything about the coachman. Because just human trafficking is such a scary thing in my world. And I'm sure it is in everyone's world, but it's terrible. But the Quandric, favorite and least favorite character.
My favorite character is Geppetto, and my least favorite character is I don't remember his name. I care not to remember his name. This is why I never remember it. But the guy who was pretty much trying to enslave Pinocchio.
Well, two
Coachman or
people
the
did that.
Stromboli?
Stromboli.
Yeah,
Stromboli
I
did
hate
it,
that
and the
guy.
coachman did it.
The coachman was trying to sell him.
Oh, okay.
The other guy was enslaving Pinocchio.
Right. Kevin?
Alrighty, me favorites Jiminy all day, and least favorites the coachman.
Mm-hmm. Mike?
Okay, this is it's hard because I like the way he's animated, the charisma that they give the fox. I can't remember his name. His charisma is really enjoyable to watch. He's not a good character though, but I just want to point out I like the charisma they gave him.
We'll give you that. Yeah, I understand.
Favorite character though, it would be Geppetto. He's just such a good person, you know. He's just an enjoy. Like he's warm, you know. When you look at him, it's like that's warmth. It just feels comforting.
Oh, yeah.
Least favorite character would definitely be the what's it, the coachman? Yeah, just no, the guy's the scum. There's no redeemable factor. Like he's a good villain, but like doesn't mean I like him. No,
Yep.
scum.
Yep, for me, favorite character is, you guys all said Geppetto, right? So, no, Kevin said Jiminy. But I'm going with Figaro. I love Figaro. And I don't like cats, but I love Figaro. And least favorite's obviously the coachman. Now, on to favorite song and least favorite song. DeQuandrick, and I'm guessing maybe you guys don't have least favorite songs. But I could be wrong.
Yeah, no, I don't have a least favorite song. All the songs in the movie were bops. My favorite is definitely I said it earlier, I forgot the name. It's the one.
No strings.
No, it was like it's the one when he's whistling.
Give a little whistle.
Thank you. I was mixing up with the Snow White Whistle Way to Work, so I mixed it up with that. So I didn't want to give the wrong name.
And no least favorite. So, Kevin.
When You Wish Upon a Star.
Mm-hmm. That's
That's
your
it.
least favorite?
song. No, that is that song. Oh, I don't really have a least favorite.
No.
There wasn't a ton of songs in this per se. So
Least
the 4 or
favorite.
5 that were in there.
Yeah, least favorite song, anyways, might have to be removed eventually because there's not many bad Disney songs.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Mikey.
I would say I like There's No Strings on Me. I would say that's my favorite. It's catchy, and I love the passion that the person who did Pinocchio was putting into the song. It's like I respect the passion he was putting into singing that.
Yep. No least favorite for you?
If I have to pick one,
You don't have to.
pick, but if I don't have to, I mean, not really. It's not really like there's one that's like, man, that was just bad. It's just like,
Yeah. See, I'm all about ranking, so obviously I have a least favorite. But my favorite is Hi Diddly Dee. I love that song. And least favorite would be Sorry to Quandra, Give a Little Whistle. But I'm not saying it's a bad song.
Lad.
I'm not saying it's a bad song. It's just it's last in my rankings of these songs.
Fair.
What is next? The listener segment, but we don't have any emails. I did put a post out in my Disney fan group asking for questions, but they got confused and thought that I was asking for trivia questions. And I don't have any of those. So unfortunately, I can't read them.
Yeah.
And that's is that it? I think that's it.
Them the strings.
What?
I said them the strings.
but there are no strings.
I'm lost.
Basically, I'm just saying, well, that is it.
Oh, okay. I am gonna end it on the note that I'm gonna start saying Jiminy Cricket in my everyday life now.
I respect that.
Got to bring it back.
Don't do it. He'll always lag behind you.
I
where
feel
you
like
make
I'm
a
missing
mistake.
something. Did we skip something, or did we just do a good job of making this streamline?
I think we just did a good job of streamlining.
Okay, well, I guess we'll end it. We're by telling everyone where to find us. As always, email us at themagicofanimation@gmail.com. Follow us on TikTok and Instagram. Instagram is The Magic of Animation with underscores in between each word. What did I just say? Did I say Instagram?
Yeah.
Okay, that was wrong. Instagram is The Magic of Animation pod with underscores in between each word. TikTok is The Magic of Animation with underscores. And we have a Twitter. I don't know what that is. My guess is that it's The Magic of Animation. And a YouTube.
The @ for the Twitter is TMOA_pod.
And I was way off.
Well, it's kind of close. It's just abbreviated.
Yeah.
And then the YouTube channel will just be The Magic of Animation. You can probably just look it up through that.
Yeah. And just look for our Rainbow Castle.
We'll have all the links to everything also posted on Twitter. It will be pinned as the main thing for the Spotify, the Instagram, the TikTok, and the YouTube. Will all be on the Twitter.
And they will all be in the description of this episode and the description of the show.
Mm-hmm.
So Quantric, where can the people find you?
At DMine on Twitter, as usual.
And Kevin and Mike, guessing you guys still are radio silent?
That would be correct.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can find me on TikTok at People Call Me Joey with underscores under each word. And if you want to learn more about my interaction with Stephen Amell, I just posted a video about that on there. So go ahead and check that out if you love Stephen Amell, because he's awesome. But that is going to do it. We're having a lot more fun with it, it seemed.
Right?
I mean, I'm still recording, but...
Oh, goodness. Okay.